called Tim Wagner. And Tim is amazing. He's come through, he's in South Africa right now. And Tim draws on 36 years in business and over 17 years as a speaker, a coach, helping stressed, overworked, and frustrated professionals, which I'm sure there's many of us out there listening to this, specializing in self-awareness, resilience, and burnout reversal through breathwork and regenerative health. He delivers his message through interactive keynotes, engaging facilitations, and transformational coaching. Known as the Breathwork Alchemist and specializing in helping his clients to heal from within, Tim combines his years in corporate with holistic approach to health and well-being. And Tim's mantra, and this is beautiful, is live life by your design and not by default. And that's beautiful. And today we're talking about how to breathe through the waves of life. So, yeah, when you feel like you're drowning and being pulled down by stress, how do you breathe? And when the waters are calm and you're in flow state, how do you stay there and stay functioning at a high level? And then how do you breathe to access higher consciousness and clarity and peace? What a beautiful introduction. Can you tell us a little bit more about you, Tim, beyond the bio, the description?
Beyond the bio description. Natasha, David, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite and to share a breath of fresh air, let's say that. Yeah, so who's Tim outside that instruction? Dad, husband, travel aficionado, love nature, got to be outdoors, got to be connected to the world, and have to be by water. I'm definitely a water baby there. So I'm blessed to live in a beautiful seaside village, 120 k's outside of Cape Town in South Africa. And we get to breathe in the morning and the sunrise every single day on a lagoon. It's pristine, it's quiet. We love to say here in the small town that for about 40 weeks a year, we have it all to ourselves. And then sometimes we've got to allow the tourists in, make a bit of money, and then they can go away again. We can have our peace and tranquility. So I love nature. I love the peace and tranquility. But one of the big things that's really changed in my life ever since I left the corporate world is helping people learn what I only wish I knew back then. That drives me, that inspires me. Yeah, so that's a little bit of who I am. And yeah, it's about designing the life that you want instead of leaving it up to default, which is living life by somebody else's design. Why would one do that? So yeah, that's where the mantra comes from.
I love that reflection, because I think that once you have these moments of stress and you have these triggers in modern life about anything, once you get into these breathing exercises and you start calming yourself or giving signals to your brain, that's when it looks like it's your life. And when you are not in that breathing state, it looks like you are borrowing your life from the world. So I think that's extremely important message, an extremely important message for everyone, so that we can have more agency in what we feel and how we feel. So my first question to open this conversation would be, what is the process of breathing doing to the brain and doing to the relaxation signals inside of us?
Stunning question. I'm going to answer it with a little bit of a story. It was actually a conversation I had earlier on, looking at doing collaboration with a gent in California who's in IT, and he does problem solving in the IT industry. And I said to him, whenever you go to a corporate and his focus is solving big problems, that's what he does. And he automates systems. He says, and I said to him, well, when you go to your clients, how receptive are they to your solution? Are they positive or negative? And he said, most of the time, negative. He gets hit, can't be done, this won't work, that won't work, tried it before, it's all negative. I said to him, do you know why? He says, well, they just stuck. I said, right, because what happens is when you're stuck in that state of fear, fight, flight, that panic, which is what so much of the world lives in because of the state that we're living in. Mouth breathing, which I'll talk about a bit later on, and you're just in the state of just trying to survive, right? Physically, our bodies have been built to not being able to consciously think and see positive when you're in that state. Because in a state of fear, fight, flight, and panic, you either need to run or fight, not stop and think and analyze and go, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea, why don't we do this? It is instantaneous. So when you're in that state, you're not going to see positive things. It's just physically not possible. We're not built to see positive or even neutral when you're in a panic state. It's physiologically impossible. Because when you're breathing in that state of fear, fight, flight, the oxygen's taken from your prefrontal cortex, your active thinking mind, and your intuitive subconscious mind, and your automatic design is then to either run or to fight. So the first thing you need to do is calm your nervous system, calm yourself down so that you can actually think with more clarity. Perhaps you, Natasha or David or the listeners have tried to solve a problem and you get so caught up in trying to solve this issue and it gets frustrating. You think, I just need to walk away. And you go shopping or you go out with the dogs and you go, that's the answer. You've removed yourself from that state. So the importance of regulating your nervous system and yourself in that state is so crucial. And the key thing, and I didn't know this, I was in corporate for 27 years in hospitality. I didn't know that your breath can control your entire autonomic nervous system, which is everything that happens automatically about you, your thinking, your heartbeat, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, digestion, all of that's automated, right? Your ANS, autonomic nervous system. But God gave us one element of our entire ANS that we have control over. And interestingly, that one thing that we have control over can control the rest of our autonomic nervous system. And that's your breath. But we're not taught this. I was never taught this. Were you?
No, and I think as a child also you need this kind of knowledge, because when children have this frustration or sometimes this mix of emotions that for many of them, of course, they don't even recognize these labels of emotions. They don't know who they are just experiencing things in a state of fight or flight. Right. And if we teach them that breathing can take them down into control, that's something that is extremely powerful. And I experienced that with my daughter. She just recently had a surgery and she had a terrible pain just when she woke up from the surgery. It was a surgery in the neck because she had an inflamed ganglion here. Yeah. So she had a lot of pain in her neck and it was a little bleeding there still from the surgery. I was sweating because it was warm, the room where she was recovering. And the first thing that occurred to me to tell her is breathe deep.
How old is your daughter, David?
She's 11 years old.
Okay. Can I share a tip for all parents who've got young kids?
Yes, of course.
About breathing. And I was actually taught this by a mom. This was very interesting. It wasn't through my studies or my coach, my breathing coach. It was actually a mom taught me this, and I thought it was profound. For a young child, maybe 11, she's understanding what breathing means. But for a young child, when you tell them to slow down and breathe properly, they don't know what it means, right? So you want to give them something to do. So if you tell your daughter, pretend you're holding a flower, or if there's one in the ward in the hospital, she is. Pretend you're holding a flower. Smell the flower. Because when you smell, you have to smell through your nose. You don't smell through your mouth. And when you breathe through your nose, that automatically calms your nervous system. So the key thing is when somebody's in that fearful state, especially of a surgery, a horrible 11-year-old having a surgery on her neck and bleeding, and dad's worrying and pain, no, come on. So the worst thing that they can do is breathe in their mouth. Because when you breathe through your mouth, you're breathing into your chest, which heightens anxiety and stress. Shut your mouth, breathe through your nose, breathe into your belly, and calms. So for parents out there, get your kids, if they're panicking and all that, smell a flower. Yeah, beautiful. Simple, but absolutely profound.
That's a great tip for all of us parents, for sure, because that's the first thing that we do, especially when kids are little. It's just like, stop, breathe. And they're like, what do we do? Well, I was going to mention another story about my daughter with regards to kind of like receiving information. I used to notice that when she was little and when she was learning, she'd go really, really quiet, and her breathing would be so deep when she was learning something. When she was like really paying attention, it was interesting. Her breaths were deep and they were strong as well. And it was beautiful to watch that, because it almost calmed everybody else in the room when she was trying to figure something out. And it's beautiful that you say kind of like how it kind of like adds to your brain and gets everything just kind of like moving through that. And I don't think we realize quite how important our breathing is, and how oftentimes I find myself even doing meditations and stuff throughout the day, unless I'm in the complete flow of my work, I have to remind myself to breathe deep.
Yeah.
Which we forget.
We do forget. And we're not meant to be focusing on our breathing. Breathe in, breathe out. No, it's automatic. But it's being aware. It's what's called being consciously connected to your breathing, conscious connected breather. So that in different states, you can click automatically and go, hang on, let me change my breathing. Yeah. Oh, this is a problem. I'm anxious. Oh, hang on, let me change my breathing. Or I can't get this. It's a problem. How am I going to finish this? The deadline, you're feeling tired. You feel like you need a double espresso, but you're worried you're going to have that double espresso and you're not going to sleep. So you're going to have a crash afterwards. And then in that state, there's a different breathing technique. And here's what I love about these, Natasha, is that in literally 60 seconds, you can change your entire metaphysical state. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
It's just 60 seconds. So when I run programs for breathing, out a 5-week program that I run, and what I teach my clients in this is to build that habit up before you need it. Because here's the thing. Have you ever been in a stress state or an anxious situation? In that point of being in the anxious state, something horrible happens and you start to be a bit panicky and anxious and all worked up, and you can feel your blood boiling if you're angry. You're not going to stop and go, oh, hang on, I must breathe properly. It's too late. You've gone there. You're not going to be able to. So it's building that tolerance and the resilience up when you don't need it.
Yeah.
So here's a tip for everybody. Take your phone, go to your reminders, and set 3 reminders. Morning, afternoon, evening. Doesn't matter what time. And just to come up, breathe. And when your phone pings on that reminder, for 60 seconds, just 1 minute, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can be driving, you can be in the shops, you can be at home, watching telly, in a meeting. It's immaterial. But when you get that reminder, for that next 60 seconds, and it's only 60, that's all you need, just be consciously aware of how you're breathing. You may notice that you're breathing in and out your mouth and you weren't even aware. You may notice your breathing is the opposite of what your daughter's, Natasha, which is then you're breathing in here. So the more you do that, and I've seen my clients in just 2 weeks who are actively doing it on a regular basis, find that when they come to that stressful situation or that normal trigger that causes that anxiety, it's smoother. They don't go as mad, as crazy. They're focused more. They're easier to control it And interesting what you spoke about, how your daughter's breathing just calms everybody in the room. It's exactly what happens. Because you're not going to the same level as the other people in the room, as their energy heightens like this and it's a tense meeting. You're remaining calmer. You'll find that impacts other people, especially if you're in a leadership position, teachers to leaders. It just keeps the temperament, just on a little bit level. So it's not as crazy. It still moves. Waves of life. Yeah. So that's a powerful thing, is learn to pick up these habits of breathing consciously before you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is beautiful. I used to, when I got back into meditating, I used to meditate for, half an hour to find that calm. And then it got to a stage where it literally just took a minute or 3 breaths and you're automatically into that calm.
Yes.
One day, I also had to do a surgery once, and I was one of the first people that came in the morning, and I was in Calgary, and they had us all lined up ready to go into surgery, and we were hooked up to the heart machine. And I was so bored by that time, and I think I was a little bit kind of like in this excitement, kind of like maybe scared a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to mess with the heart machine. So I started really, I would alternate my breathing. I'd go into that like fight or flight, that like just through my regulation of my breathing. And the heart monitor was just like all over the place until they came to check on me and they were like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm just testing something. And they're like, would you stop doing that? I want to see if you're able to go in. But it was just incredible how the power of your breath, how it absolutely, controls your body, your heart, your brain, everything, which is incredible.
You remind me of research that was done, a little bit of science here for you, but research that was done, I think it was the 1990s in the US, with 180 fatal heart attack victims.
Oh.
And what they discovered was that 80% of those heart attack victims were mouth breathers. Which indicates a high likelihood that they were permanently living in a state of fear, fight, flight, panic, stress, anxiety. It's exactly what you're talking about. So what happens is, over time, it puts so much strain on your heart because you're elevating it so high, because you're in that panic state, that in the end, the heart goes, that's it. I've beaten my beats. I'm done. So you breathe in a high anxious state, your blood pressure goes up, your heartbeat goes up, you calm your nervous system, you breathe slow, nice and deep. The optimal breath is 6 a minute, not the 20 or 25, which anxious people breathe. Calms everything, your heart is better, your digestion's better, your blood pressure is improved. Just so much is directly attributed to the power of your breath.
Yeah. And 2 things that you mentioned about how to implement these kind of techniques, I think it's extremely important that we make it a habit, as you mentioned, and we start building that habit, because as you also said, when you are in those situations of stress, or you have to quickly think and give a good solution for the things, if you don't have that habit, you won't be able to do it, and you simply will go into the default, which is mouth breathing, and which is being stressed and just reactive.
Yeah.
And the other one is how much we have lost the patience to have these breathing techniques, or walking, or just distracting from these kinds of problems. The story that you gave us with the person that was in the corporate world trying to solve problems and never finding the solution. Of course, that's what happens in many corporate situations. They are too stressed, they are just pushing hard, they are just going beyond the limits. And of course, they won't have good solutions, and they overwork, and they even do it wrong. I mean, and then they have to repeat, so they completely waste effort in many ways. I mean, mental, physical, and the strain in the heart. That is something that should make people think more about caring for the heart.
It should. You're so right, David. And that's where the challenge came for me, coming from the corporate world, not knowing any of this stuff. And I always say the breathwork discovered me, because I didn't know breathwork existed. I didn't know it was a thing. And it came to me by complete default. I wasn't looking for it at all. I was just researching. That's what I was doing. I was living at the sea level, by the sea level in Belito. Natasha, you'll know Belito. And one of my goals is to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the highest peak in Africa. And so I was on Google going, how do I train at sea level to climb at altitude? And the first thing that came up was breathwork. What is this breathing thing? I don't know. I've been breathing for 51 years. I think I've got this waxed. I know what I'm doing. I'm here. And the more I started to research, and I found out I have no idea how to actually breathe. That was the beginning of the rabbit hole that I'm still going down now, studying and researching and practicing and teaching and coaching different breathing techniques and regenerative health techniques and just natural ways. And the first thing that I said, why don't people in corporate know this? If I had known this when I was burning out, could things have been different? Could I have handled the situation different? Because the business I was running was struggling because I couldn't find the solutions to the problems anymore. The relationships at work were down the toilet. The relationships at home were stressed. How I'm still married, yes, to the same person, the same lady. How I'm still married, why she put up with me, because I was just not a nice guy, because I wasn't able to cope. And I was just doing, David, what we all do. Push forward, try harder, work more hours, work stronger, keep going, suck down the anger, push, go, go, go. Yeah. And then one day the body says, hey, I warned you, you don't listen, quits. And that's burnout. Now, I was fortunate. I got out. I saw the signs. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I had to get out. So I quit. I walked out. But for too many people, they don't see the signs. And so here's the thing. Why do we not know this? Why is this not taught? The world is changing and it's evolving, but there's a long way to go before it's actually in place. And it doesn't have to be breathing. There's many different modalities. Natasha, you spoke about meditation, just the 5-minute breaks, just those mindfulness and the balance between your home and the work time, and making sure you get home on time and having that home work life. Because they're combined these days. They're not separate anymore. It's how many people in the hybrid world, they work from home. So there's no more that break between the office and home anymore. You literally walk out the door and you're at home. So there's no gap. So how do you integrate all this into the world of business now? So it's a slow process, but it's an essential one. And the companies that are applying employee well-being and psychological safety programs, but effective ones, you'll see that those in the years to come will have the best employees. They're going to hold on to the best employees. They're going to function the best. The other ones would continue in a toxic environment. People aren't going to stick around, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, with a lot of people moving as well. And I think that, and I've seen this for the future in the sense of not only having mindfulness integrated into schools, from a really young age, but into corporate as well. So mindfulness and breathing, meditation, and mental health, personal development as parts of that as well. I have a question for you with regards to meditation. So we tend to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. And I don't know if there's any studies, because recently, one of the questions that have been brought up is you should be breathing in through your nose and out through your nose as well. What are the different techniques and how does that support in different ways, I'm sure?
So let's start with what is known as the ideal breath. The perfect ideal breath is in and out your nose. There's a book written in 1901 by Yogi Ramacharaka. He said, you don't eat through your nose, so don't breathe through your mouth. In and out your nose. unless you're doing specific practice or exercise or various different things, but the default basic for breathing is in and out your nose only. That's a calming of the nervous system. When you breathe through your nose, it activates what's called nasal nitric oxide, which is essential gas in assisting with oxygenating your blood. And also, when you're breathing in, not only does it filter the air, but it also sends the oxygen to the bottom half of your lungs. And here's what a lot of people don't realize, is that when you breathe through your nose and you breathe through the bottom half of your lungs, there's a 7 times greater intake of oxygen than there is when you're breathing in through the top. So these are for the athletes and the sports people out there. How few are trained to breathe in and out their nose while training. You don't see it for runners. You don't see it for sports athletes. Now, why not? It's still so new. It isn't there yet, but the athletes who are doing it are excelling. And I practiced that and I tried it. I've forgotten your question. I can go off a tangent so easily. The importance of breathing and the difference. That's what, right. So in an ideal normal breathing state, you're just working normally, watching TV, reading a book, walking around, walking the dogs, in and out your nose. That's the basis and should be the default for everything. And in fact, if there's one thing that the listeners, I would like them to remember from this entire talk today, this entire session with us, is the following. Shut your mouth and breathe through your nose. That's it. You start with that fundamental base, you're already on the right direction.
Yeah.
The basis of it.
Thank you.
I agree, and I have had experiences with this nose breathing because I love to swim, and one of the teachers that taught me when I was a child to swim taught me to breathe through the nose instead of the mouth.
That's powerful. Not easy when you're swimming.
Yeah, and usually that's what I do. I just turn my head and take air through the nose, and then I throw it when I go inside through the nose again. So that's a good way for me to just quickly access this breathing. And I have noticed that yes, I get a lot less tired when I'm doing this kind of breathing while running or while doing even weightlifting. So it is indeed giving more oxygen to the muscles and to everything. So any kind of person that practices any kind of exercise can test this and can simply see what happens. And as you mentioned, it's just creating the habit that at first is going to be difficult probably because they are used to open the mouth. But I have listened to some people that also dedicate to this breath work that they use a tape in the mouth so that they can't open the mouth. So that's something that they can. Yeah.
So David, can I ask, when you were training to swim, breathing in and out your nose, how long did it take you before you actually felt comfortable that you were getting enough oxygen and you could do it without panicking? How long did it take?
Seconds.
You didn't take you long to get used to it?
Yes. Well, it was just very funny because I learned to swim, and the first lessons I was really almost a baby. And my mother told me, I don't remember that, but my mother told me that they throw me to the water. These teachers were really harsh, and they just let me go and get sink and then go out. So I think I learned through these kind of experiences to just do it and get used to this kind of breathing. Yeah. And then
the reason why I ask is if people are thinking, but how do I try this? It can take quite a long time, especially for an adult, if you've been breathing in and out your mouth, being a runner, doing exercise, swimming, to now change. So when I first started to study this breath work, I'm a product of the product. So everything that I talk about and I share and I teach, I am either doing or I have done. So whenever I talk about nose breathing, in 2023, I decided to set myself a challenge and learn how to only breathe through my nose and I think about 6 or 7 half marathons. I did a full marathon, only breathing through my nose completely. But it took me about 4 or 5 months to actually be able to continuously only breathe through my nose, because I had to change the habit of mouth breathing. But I did a whole lot of different experiments between mouth breathing, nose breathing, in, out, running a hill, not, to see how my recovery was. Interesting what you talk about, David. As soon as you're breathing in and out your nose, you're less oxygen starved and your recovery is that much quicker. But it can take months to do it. And when I was training running, I actually would start by running with taping my mouth. Just that surgical tape. We call it micropore or M3 tape, I think, in America. It's just that it's adhesive, but if you need to, you can easily break it open. Yeah, used to tape my mouth. And now I can't run breathing in and out my mouth. It feels weird.
Those are some brilliant practice tips, which is awesome. I'd like to, so if we look at air from the elements, air is one of the most important elements for us as living humans. I mean, all elements are important. And that space of it's the first thing that you do when you're born, and the last thing you do, you exhale when you die. And the importance of it, that in the sense of working with it as far as bringing in life force energy or chi and allowing everything to move through our systems is absolutely incredible. And I tend to see as breath and air as the element that connects the physical to the metaphysical, which is quite important from that. And what are your takes on that from a spiritual perspective or a metaphysical perspective? I mean, I've done breathwork things that have dropped me into a past lifetime that I've used to heal, or I use it very much breath with regards to somatic work that I do, releasing trauma from the body. What is your take on that, Tim?
I used to be a realist. I'm the corporate guy. This is a pen. I know it's a pen because I worked hard for the money and I bought it and I write with it. It's a pen.
Yeah.
I've had to learn that life, the universe, the world is a lot more deeper and a lot more intense than just that. This isn't a pen. This is energy. We are all energy. There's an all interconnection to this. And I've learned a lot over the years now since I left the corporate world about the interconnectedness of this and how breath can bring you so deep. And it was only through my coach, Brian, that when I stumbled across breathwork and I was researching, I met this guy. And he started to explain to me and say, but Tim, breathing techniques is not only about helping you feel better in that moment, sort of like taking the painkiller for the headache. Okay, feel better, yes, but breathing can take you deeper to root out the underlying reason that created that headache in the first place. Now that's going to the spiritual level. That's going a lot deeper. That's looking at the energy of the body. We are light energy beings. And we trap our trauma and our anxieties as energy inside of our bodies. It can be trapped in the muscles, the bones, the heart, and it's in our language anyway. I feel it in my gut. That's energy. He broke my heart. You feel it, right? So it's in our language, but we don't understand and internalize what that means. So what Brian then taught me is a very deep, guided. It's a holotropic breathing, which is mouth breathing in and out your belly, activating your diaphragm. But it puts your conscious thinking mind to sleep and has access to deep theta brainwave state, which is very, very calming. You're fully aware. It's not meditation, not hypnosis. You're fully aware of what's going on, but you're very calm in deep theta brainwave states. And that's when you get those euphoric states, those people like yourself, Natasha, who say, I've never managed to get there, not yet. I'm new in the practice and I've got quite a long way to go. But it's enjoyable, the journeys, to see what's actually possible on another level completely. And here's what I love about it. Without shrooms or any other psychedelics, where you have an up and then you got a crash. Breathwork can take you there absolutely naturally and scientifically proven now as well. That's the great thing. It's not just woo-hoo, tree huggy, ooh, hippie type of people. Okay, you know, a couple of centuries ago, you would have been burnt to the stake type of stuff. No, science. There's a lot of science behind it. So massive, profound benefits. And I'll never forget, I'll share a quick story with you. So Brian then was explaining this to me, and I thought, I don't really get what you're talking about, but I'm game. I want to know. So I went through this. It's 1 hour of deep breathing. Now, if you do 1 hour of deep breathing, it's a challenge when you've not breathed properly before. Great. It was as if I felt like I'd had a reset button switched for my mind, my body, and my soul. It cleared out this tension which was inside of me that I didn't even know that existed. But in that state of absolute calm and peace, I had one thing that jumped to mind. Tim, forgive yourself. So in my story, since I left the corporate world, I used to do a lot of trading, a lot of businesses. I had 4 different businesses, made a lot of money, lost a lot of money. And in it, I got trapped. I won't go into the detail right now, but basically I lost our wealth, the family's money. Gone. And I thought I'd forgiven myself, and I hadn't. And it felt like it was a trap, a ball of energy like the size of a tennis ball stuck in my sternum. And in that deep state of breathing and deep mindful state, that let go. And it's most profound experience that if you're thinking this is a bit odd, you'll only get it once you've been there. From the outside, you go, whoa, this is like a little bit, are you sure? Who's this guy? You know? What are they talking about? Past lives. No. It's an amazing, do it in a guided structure with a professional guide who can coach you. This is not type of thing which you're going to go out there and just do on your own, because it can get quite intense and it can be extremely emotional. But Natasha, from the corporate realist to 8 years later doing and talking the way that I'm talking now, I would have thought, nah, what planet you're on. But we learn.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful.
I can share that also, that experience, because when I started to do courses on Reiki, the teacher also, the first things to do before we started to connect with the different positions of the hands and the different ways that you can use Reiki, he teaches us to breathe and to give this peace of mind, closing the eyes and just feeling the breath. And every time we were distracted and we lose the concentration of the breathing connection, he taught us to return to the breath. And once you get in that state, yes, you start feeling a lot of emotions and you connect with your emotions in a level that you start just crying. I remember those sessions and I was crying without having a reason or understanding why, but I think it's this process of forgiveness and the process of healing the wounds that you have inside.
Who got it? Who got it? So what I'd like to do is just actually play with our breath for a little bit so that the listeners can experience a little bit of what we're talking about here, but the simplicity of it. And we'll start with one of my favorite ones and the go-to breathing techniques that I share all the time, because it's the simplest and it can be done at any point. And it's based on the fact that majority of people, I think 70, what's the research now? 76% of the working population experience some form of burnout in their corporate careers, which is a shocking amount. So one of the key breath techniques that I like to share, and it's not mine, I don't own this, I've got video on YouTube about it and there's a lot available, but let's run through it. It's called resonant breath. And we're going to do it.
It's going to make us cry.
No. we're not going to go to that level. But David, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But let's scare the audience off. What we're doing effectively, well, I'll explain afterwards what we do or why it works. Okay. So this is the simple technique, and it takes 60 seconds to do. And you please follow on, everybody. So whatever you're doing, even if you're listening to this while driving, you can still do this. Just don't close your eyes. That would be my request. Otherwise, wherever you are, wherever you're listening, just stop for 60 seconds, because this is the technique that I coach my clients to do 3 times a day, which I spoke to you about earlier on, morning, afternoon, evening. And what we're doing is you're going to sit comfortably, arms in your lap or on the table, wherever you want. And if you are sitting and able to, you're going to close your eyes. And I just want you to listen to my guidance as I talk through to you through this. It's very simple. You're going to be breathing in through your nose to the count of 5 and out through your mouth through pursed lips for the count of 5. And we're going to do this just for 1 minute. So I'm going to count for half of it with you, and then afterwards you're just going to count in your head, count the numbers, and visualize the number at the same time. I'll explain why that's important afterwards. Okay? We ready? We good? Lovely. I'm going to count you from 3 to 1. You just let your air out, and then I'll count you in through your nose and out through your mouth. And let your air out. 3, 2, 1. Breathe in through your nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5. In through your nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep counting in your head. And out. Visualize the number. And in. And out. And in. And out. And just sit there peacefully, breathing in your own pace. Just feel the calm in your heart and your mind. Perhaps you're feeling your heart beating slowly in your chest. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you.
How are we feeling?
Wow, even dizzy.
Even dizzy. Just absolutely.
Yeah.
So what happens there is just creating a resonance between your mind and your heart, and you're regulating your nervous system. Because when we're stressed and anxious, we breathe more, we breathe faster. If you ever do a breath test and you're breathing more than 16 breaths a minute, that's either a sign that you've got a lung problem, maybe you've got asthma or pneumonia, or you're sick on that type, or you're in a highly stressed state. And as society, well, the specialists say the ideal breath is 12 to 15 or 12 to 16 breaths a minute. What you've just done is lowered your breathing rate to 6. Only 6 breaths. Did you feel breath hungry, like panicky? No. So here's just absolute proof that when you breathe slower and deeper through your nose, you get more oxygen than when you breathe faster in and out your mouth.
Yeah.
Another reason why I said count in your head and visualize the number. Here's why. Now, a lot of breathing people and breath work that I've done miss this. You see, when you're in a high stress state, and perhaps Natasha as a meditator, when you're with your clients and talking to people about meditation, they say, I can't meditate because my brain just is going on and on and on and on and on, like it doesn't calm down. Okay. So when you are counting in your head and visualizing the number, what else is your brain thinking about?
Nothing.
It can't, because you're using your visual and you're counting. So you're visualizing and counting. So then your brain's going to forget about all the other things. Yes, it can take a bit of practice, but once you've got it, In 60 seconds, you will calm yourself. So if you're going to do a presentation, you're planning to go into a boardroom, and you've got this document, there's all these people around, and now you start panicking. Am I going to get this right? Are they going to listen? Am I going to get the words out right? You've got to do a proposal. While you're having that conversation, or you're sitting in the boardroom table before you stand up, do your presentation, do this breath. Nobody's going to know. I teach this to professional speakers before they go on stage when you're standing in the wings and somebody's introducing you, and the butterflies are going all over the place. And they're going, what's my name? What's my name? What's my name? What's my first line? Well, if it's a professional speaker, the most important thing is that first line. And they go on stage and go, I don't remember anything. So while you're waiting, and then when you walk on stage, you've got it because you're able to think clearly and easily. So that's just a beautiful, easy breathing technique to do. And I've got many more of them as well. I put a book together which I've called From Burnout to All Out in 60 Seconds, where I've just put my favorite techniques and also understanding, for those who like the science behind it, what happens, why does our body work like that, and how it works. I've got a free ebook that's available for everybody, which they can download if they want to go deeper into it as well.
Thank you. That's wonderful. As you said, visualize the counting. I was like, oh, that is so smart, because that brings you right into that breathing. And I'm going to get my daughters to do this. They're in the middle of prelims right now and exams. And I think that's a brilliant technique to use during that time as well, which is amazing. So I want to ask you a question. So that is the breathing in and out. What about the in between? That pause, that quiet between the breaths, that integration, that, like, can you talk to that and the importance of that as well?
So you got different breathing techniques that suit different people. So one of the most popular ones, which has got that pause or that hold, is box breathing.
Yeah.
It's taught to firefighters and the armed forces because they're in a high conscious state of awareness for long periods of time. And so, yes, there's different science and different research, but here's what I like to say. Find a technique that feels comfortable to you and do that one. So there's lots of different ones. The box breathing, if people don't know, is where you're breathing in through your nose to the count of 4, you hold for the count of 4, you breathe out to the count of 4, and you hold to the count of 4. So it's like a box. That's why it's called box breathing. So that's a hold breath. You can go into scientifically and the benefits and here and there, but here's the thing. What makes you most comfortable? Some people like box breathing, other people like resonant breathing. And there's various different ones for calming your nervous system. And then you've got the ones for awakening your nervous system as well, to speed up. Then there's other ones which swimmers use, which is, and also people with wind instruments, where you hold on the breath out, not on the breath in, because you want to increase your tolerance to CO2, carbon dioxide. So there's various different ones depending on what it is that you're looking for and you need. But on the base breathing, which is what we're talking about here today, find one that's most comfortable for you, that you like. Practice a few different ones and go, that's the one I like. Stick to it. In the end, as long as you're consciously aware of your breathing, is going to help.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. I love also the way that you introduce this technique with the visualization process, because once you are concerned about the visualization process, I was picturing the numbers in different colors and in different ways of how they were like going down or up. And it's funny because the mind is busy and busy in relaxing, busy in just concentrating yourself in the oxygen, let's say. And that is also something that I do when I at the end of my training in swimming. I go deep in the water and I hold my breath and I just swim until I arrive to the next shore of the pool, and whatever it takes. I mean, if sometimes I arrive to the end, sometimes I don't, But while I'm doing that, if I start getting anxious or getting this desperation that I'm not going to hold until the end of the pool, I don't do it, and I arrive a lot less. But if I relax and if I just try to do it slower, and I just try to swim in a different kind of rhythm, not in a desperate rhythm, I go beyond. And that is also a trick that this counting is doing, because it's giving us the power to go beyond the desperation or the anxiousness that we feel when we are faced with a problem or with a memory issue, talking about when you are going to speak or applying to in an exam, no?
Brings you back to center, calms you, and when you're more calm and connected, you in the swimming, you go further.
Yeah.
If you're panicking in that state, you're not going to get there, and that's just a life lesson. Sometimes going slower is actually the quicker way to get to the final destination. And you're more conscious of it, you're more present in that moment, and you're not thinking, I'm going to get to the end. Am I going to get to the end? No, let's just take the next
Stroke.
stroke. That's the word. Thank you. The next stroke, and then we'll take one more, and then we'll say, "Hey, I'm at the end." Well, that was easy. I could turn around and go do another one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's just a beautiful lesson of life, is being present, and that's what breath work does. It brings you back to presence, because the only time that we have is here and now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what I enjoy about my meditating or actually when I'm working in that space of the Akashic records, because I'm in a meditative state, I'm at this, what I call the 0 point, because you're walking between worlds. So there's absolute neutrality in between all of that. And that is so calming in that sense. And I find it so beautiful that when I'm doing kind of, say, for example, either somatic work, or if I'm doing craniosacral therapy, which is one of the modalities that I'm trained in as well, is we're taught to watch the body. And when the body exhales, because we bring people into this point of the 0 point, or the point of neutral, where the body is actually integrating or healing itself, because we're watching the waves of the cerebral spinal fluid when we're working through that, and we almost kind of like reboot somebody. But when we're finished working in an area, the body actually does this deep exhale. And know that it's there is when we need to move on from, because that trauma has been released from either the fascia or that part within the body, which is quite interesting to note. But we're taught to follow the breath. We're taught to know, okay, that is when that completion is there. And it's quite interesting from the cranial perspective in receiving that, because your brain waves, you come in and out of consciousness at the same time with your breath, and it brings people completely down into that space of neutral, that 0. And I find that is such an incredible space to be in, that it becomes quite, I suppose, you get so used to it that when it's off balance, it's like, oh, wait a minute, But I find it so interesting that exhale, that release is so important, and that's that physical noticing that, okay, the body is done with that treatment in that time.
Beautiful. And one thing that jumps to mind when you're talking about this is listening to our bodies. We're not tuned into our bodies enough. And if we actually stopped and listened to the warning signs that our body gives, then we're going to be able to make it just such a more peaceful place that we all live in and be. So you're attaching, you're listening to that final deep sigh that the body just says, right. So it's listening and being aware of the aches and the pains and the anxiousness, because in the end, all of these things that we're talking about that we deal with in life, all they are is warning signs. That's all. It's just an emotional warning sign. But we push through it, and like we're talking about at the beginning, and you squash it down and you just keep going and you ignore it. No. Slow down and go, hold on. Why am I feeling like this? Is something, hang on. It's just an emotional stress, anxiety, anger, fear, panic. It's just emotional reactions to external circumstances.
Yeah.
Have a look and go, why am I reacting emotionally like this? What's the trigger? Is it a paradigm, subconscious in my body? Where's it coming from? So then you can deal with it, because the only thing that we have control of is how we react to the external circumstances. The politics is not going to change. The family dramas are not going away. The kids' issues, the dog ate the bunny rabbit, that's not going to, you can't control any of that. But you can only control how you react when we start to listen intuitively to the body, which is the most amazing healing machine. Outside of drugs and pharma and all that type of stuff. Let's not go down that route. Because it can. So it's profound experiences. And so if anybody's here listening for the first time and not really sure of this stuff, not to worry. I didn't used to get it either. But when I started to try it, I thought, hold on a second. There's something far more profound in this. Just because I didn't know it existed doesn't mean it's not valuable.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good almost wrapping of all the breathing teachings that you are giving us. And just to highlight what you have said, I think that we can take out two messages, and you can complement, of course. This going slower is going to take us further. And that's one analogy that you made from the experience that I told you about swimming, and when you focus your mind in the breath or in counting. And the other one is this listening and connecting with our bodies. No, I think that's the most important connection that we should have, and that's the first connection that we should aim for. Because if we are connected with our bodies, we can connect with everyone. So if we are disconnected from our bodies, we disconnect from the world, I think. So what else can you suggest to people that they can do whenever they are facing these frustrations of our societies?
Run!
Yes. And don't breathe.
do what the wife
do it. Let's see if
do what the wife and I did in 2021 after the pandemic. We sold our house, we gave away our possessions, we bought a van, and we traveled the country for a year and a half to get away.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
That's good.
You're reconnected to nature.
Oh man, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Not everybody can do it, but you know what? We did. So the reason I say this is live. Live in the moment, live now. And we had to give up a lot. Was it difficult? Yes. Was it worth it? Hell yes.
Yeah.
But if you don't go out there and live, why are we here? Sometimes you've got to break through those difficult things in order to be able to discover what's on the other side. And if I hadn't have done that, I would have never discovered the journey that I'm on now. And I wouldn't be going where I am and living in the beautiful place that I do live in now. Yeah. So I think live in the moment, embrace it, and just go out there. So run, go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Live your life by your design, not by default. And default is just going through the motions. It's what I did for 27 years, climbing the corporate ladder, find out the ladder was leaning against the wrong frigging building. Fell off the ladder many times.
Yeah.
But that's the key thing, is go back to self.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
How do people get a hold of you? I know we'll put it down in the comments and stuff, but what's the best way to get a hold of you, Tim?
So email or my website. So email is tim@professionalpointer.com. My company's Professional Pointer Coaching. That's the business. So professionalpointer.com is the easiest way. But I'm on LinkedIn as well, and also Facebook, mostly LinkedIn. Every day putting posts up there on regenerative health and healing, natural healing techniques, breath work and how it all combines, and just sharing stories of amazing journeys of how people are slowly but surely waking up to the fact that the way that we've been taught to live is not necessarily our ideal. And if it hasn't been working for you, perhaps you need a different perspective, a different change in life.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us today. Really appreciate that.
Thanks for the invites, David. Natasha, it's been a pleasure. Look forward to more.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And as you listen, so just run and live your life before it's too late. And of course, contact Tim for any kind of questions regarding breathwork and regarding how to live a life without worries, let's say. And of course, connect with us and subscribe to our channels. If you like this episode, please share this with everyone. And I'm sure that everybody needs to learn how to breathe. And although we do it because we are alive, well, we sometimes don't do it in the proper way. So thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will be listening to our next episode. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.